When you became mayor, what were some of the major problems you saw in our city?
Well, there were some challenges. Again, one of them was communication. I felt that we didn't have enough communication to the residents and to those who work in our city and to those who come and visit. Give you an example. When individuals found out late that the school would be closed because of a snowstorm or weather condition or some incident, any extenuating circumstance that resulted in school closing, that affects your life, whether or not you're going to have babysitters, if you're going to stay home, or whether you're going to go to work and your children are going to stay home. That impacts so many different aspects of your life. And I wanted to push, not just through City Hall, but working with my colleagues in the Board of Education to say, let's communicate, let's get information out as fast as possible to a very broad audience, because many individuals are impacted by our decisions. Another concern that I had was crime. I had a concern that there were specific areas. I was born and raised in Passaic, and I had concern that there were specific areas that I felt we weren't focused on. So I created initiatives like substations in areas where it would encourage more police presence through community policing, walking details, and have individuals see police. And I believe this helps with or the deterrent of crime, the deterring issues or incidents, but also it encourages and fosters better relationships where the public would see police officers consistently and interact with them. Policing isn't just reacting to crime. Sometimes it's getting directions. Sometimes it's a senior citizen being assisted with crossing the street. And sometimes it's, can you help me find my dog? Or my kitten is stuck. And we just recently did a video with our firefighters rescuing a kitten on top of a building. So public safety issues were concerned, and I wanted to have targeted policing in order to address those concerns. Recreation, I think that the previous mayor and administration did a fantastic job in expanding recreation and creating parks, but I wanted to create new opportunities for recreation that our residents and our youth hadn't been exposed to, like ice skating. Created the synthetic ice skating rink. I wanted to have additional lacrosse, have tennis courts redone, because I thought that would be extremely important. Pickleball, which is more conducive for our senior citizens to enjoy a form of tennis. I wanted to expand recreation opportunity for all segments of our population. That became exciting. I saw challenges with children with special needs and adults with special needs, especially with job opportunities. And I identified a gap in what we often refer to as aging out of services and programs, whether in the school or state programs, and adults who are on the spectrum. And I wanted to partner with different agencies within the city, as well as try to identify funds and grants to create job training and or employment opportunities for those who are identified on the spectrum and individuals of different needs. So some of these challenges became issues that I wanted to focus on. I also wanted to focus on senior program, expanding our senior citizen program, as well as identifying issues with our homeless and our veterans. And then there were more practical concerns like our budget, making sure that our services were communicated to the public, because I feel like our residents don't have an issue necessarily with paying taxes, as long as they know where their taxes are going, as long as they know it's worth it. See, if I'm paying taxes but our roads are never getting fixed, if I don't feel that our city is safe, if I feel that our parks aren't being renovated or being maintained, if I feel that public service, whether through our garbage contracts, recycling, addressing issues with trees, all of these services, and so many come out of the city, whether our courts are slow, whether to get a permit for construction or a variance at one of our volunteer boards like planning or zoning. If none of these are running well, then I take real issue with paying taxes. But I felt that managing a responsible budget, taking a pragmatic approach, and being transparent with the community to say, you're going to pay taxes, because if you want services in a city, that money has to come from somewhere. And we generate revenue through taxes and sometimes services and grants, but the majority are taxes. And that's what goes to pay the salaries of police officers, of firefighters, and communicating sometimes aspects of government and the budget, and ensuring to fight for, again, a responsible budget, not playing the smoke and mirrors or kicking the can down the road and saying, let's do 0% for 3 years and then try to hit you with an 8 or 9% the year that we're not running, but explaining that we are an urban city. We are the fifth most densely populated city in the United States of America for populations of 50,000 or over. So when there's a fire, if there's not an immediate response, if we do not have mutual aid agreements with other municipalities, that can make the difference between the fire being contained to one property or an entire block going up, because we're so densely populated and homes are almost right next to each other in certain areas. So that's why we have such a robust fire department with specialized equipment and apparatuses that cost so much, because I can't afford, like a rural community, to wait an additional 10 minutes for volunteers to respond to a fire. Our firefighters have to get there immediately. That becomes paramount in communities like ours. And explaining that to residents and explaining how it impacts the budget and how much of the budget it costs to pay for the kind of fire department that we have and the shifts that have to be covered, I think becomes important. So communication, again, was my number one priority, and making sure that I'm running responsible, transparent government, as well as working well with my colleagues, the legislative branch of municipal government, the city council. And then there was one last area of concern or focus that I felt that I really wanted to devote myself to, and that is developing important relationships with other elected officials. Having served once before as county commissioner and as the director of the county as a freeholder, was elected twice there, I realized it was important to have relationships with elected officials from county government, state government, and federal government. These become crucial in ensuring that you can get grants, that you can get funding and support. Like the park that we developed downtown, it's one thing for us to invest $12 million for our riverfront property and to unite Pulaski Park to Dundee Island and have a similar park downtown like we have in 3rd Ward of our city of Passaic, so all of our children everywhere can enjoy the beautiful amenities of our recreation opportunities in our parks. But it's another thing to keep it safe. And I realize that sometimes our police department is stretched thin, so partnering with the county sheriff, making sure it's a county park and that there's sheriff's presence will assist us in making everyone feel safe and addressing areas of concern when it comes to crime or vandalism.
Do you plan on running in our next election?
Not in our next election, but in my next election, because our next election is Board of Education. I say that just jokingly. We have so many elections in the city. I think the next one is in June for Assembly and Senate. No. And then in November, after that, we have Board of Education. And then we're going to have one in 2025, my next election. That I know I promised to be short. That's a difficult question. If the people of Passaic are pleased with the work that I am doing and there is support, yes, I will wish to continue to serve. I consider it a privilege and an honor to serve the residents of our city, and I consider it an honor to be the mayor of Passaic, but I don't take it for granted. I have said I want to continue to do this work as long as I can do it well and the people wish to support me. In fact, there's a specific sentence that I wrote myself when I first was elected, that I will tolerate politics for the sake of serving the people. But if that ever flips and I'm tolerating people for the sake of being a politician, it's time to go. To this day, I still love serving people. I love when someone calls me and says, I need help. I love getting a message, whether on social media. Sometimes they're positive, but I will admit I enjoy when people push back and say, Mayor, I don't think this is done well, because it's a challenge for me to say, all right, well, let's work together to make it done well. I still want to do this job. So if the residents of the city of Passaic will have me, and those who visit or work here think I'm doing a good job, then together, if I hear their message and they say, Mayor, we want you, I'm going to fight to stay in this position. But I believe in the democratic process. I believe that individuals should run, and I welcome any individual that wishes to serve to seek public office, and we allow the public to choose.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your time, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and be with you today.
Thank you.
One thing's for sure, Mayor Lora is dedicated to improving conditions in the city he loves. For Prep TV News, this is Brian Perez reporting.